what happens is that when you do this for yourself and you're not needing to get it from someone else, they naturally do it. They naturally do it for you, with you, because you're showing them the way. Hi everyone, it's me, Corey T, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to feel more seen and understood, because this is something that I used to really struggle with, and it's so frustrating and exhausting, isn't it? It's exhausting when you are trying to communicate with someone and it's like you're speaking different languages. And often I see this happening with people and their parents or in relationships, which I think are the most triggering. The most likely places that we're going to get triggered are with our parents and in romantic relationships. So you might have had the situation where you're trying to explain something to someone about you and they don't get it. They don't get it, and they don't seem willing to get it. They are in their mindset, and it's so frustrating because it feels like you want to shake them and say, why don't you understand me? Why don't you understand me? And I used to feel like this with my dad, and I really wanted more empathy from him. I really wanted more understanding. I really wanted more care. And I felt like I was just screaming and no one could hear me. And I've had this in my relationship that I'm in now as well. I've had this feeling of why don't you understand me? And this frustration, especially at the beginning of our relationship. And it was just driving me mad. And what I realised, especially, when I look back, I had already learnt the lesson with my dad. And it came down to me wanting validation from outside of me. I wanted my feelings to be heard and understood. And I felt like that was going to cure the feelings of discomfort within me. And the thing that actually cured it for me, especially with my dad and then later on in my relationship as well, was when I decided to stop trying to be understood. When I decided that actually, you know what, I understand me. I understand what I'm trying to say. I know that I'm a good person. I know that I've got good intentions, and I know how I feel, and I validated myself. And this created the most enormous shift in my relationship. First of all with my dad, and then when I reflected on it with Johnny as well, because I realised that I'd already been through this before. So with my relationship with my dad, it came down to my little inner child was constantly seeking validation and approval and wanted to be seen and loved. And so desperately wanted to be seen and loved, a feeling that maybe I hadn't had enough of when I was growing up. And there may have been big emotions and things that I went through really on my own when I didn't have the language to express what I was feeling. And it felt like no one could see me. And the way that I used to describe it to my therapist was I'm behind I'm behind a glass plane, and I'm going, why can't you see me? Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you judging me? Why are you thinking of me in that way? Why are you doing that? And it used to be so frustrating, because I felt like I was the bad one in the family. I felt like I was the one that was selfish and self-obsessed and all these judgments that I felt like I'd been kind of given, and I didn't feel like it was fair. And I also just didn't feel like anyone understood me or just had empathy for me. And I felt really alone. And I guess the human experience is really lonely, isn't it? We don't know if anyone can actually understand us, and we want to know, and we want to be heard, and we want to be listened to. We want that feeling of connection and empathy, and we're always trying to get it. But when I was basically, really wanting it from my dad, we had all these massive arguments, huge arguments, where I was asking something of him that really at the time he could not give. He wasn't ready to do that. And the thing is that what changed it, what transformed our relationship, was when I decided to surrender and say, you know what, I don't need this from you, because I am going to give it to myself. And we had a break from talking, and I felt this enormous sort of relief that I didn't need to get it from him. And it came down to self-worth. You know, often we think we've got a communication problem and we feel like we've got some kind of relationship problem, but actually it's not. It comes down to how worthy and how much we can validate ourselves, how worthy we feel about ourselves, how worthy we think our feelings are, how much we are able to do that for ourselves. And in romantic relationships, this is something that can create a lot of disagreements and miscommunication, and really what we have to do is turn within and say, right, I'm trying to ask this person for something that they're not giving me right now. How can I give that to myself? And what does it mean about me if they don't do that? What does it mean about me? And it when you think about it, it just comes down to this feeling of loneliness that's probably very familiar from your childhood. And you can remedy that by learning how to lean into your own self-love and validation. This is why it's just so important. Self-love, self-validation, learning how to do this again and again and again. And what happens is that when you do this for yourself and you're not needing to get it from someone else, they naturally do it. They naturally do it for you, with you, because you're showing them the way. It always comes down to that, doesn't it? It always comes back around to you being the change, you being the one to do these things for yourself. And we're always trying to do it the other way around. We always do this, and we have to just keep repeating the same thing until we get better and better and stronger and stronger. And I've definitely got so much better at doing this, but I'm human, and sometimes I go into those old habits and patterns, and I will need that validation and feel frustrated. Why can't you understand me? I need you to understand me. And then I'm like, I'm doing that thing again. I'm doing that thing where I'm like needing, my inner child needs to be heard. And then I have to take myself off and do that for myself. Be the one that does that for myself. And it's just freeing, because it means, I don't actually need that. When your self-worth improves and you start to feel better about yourself, you don't care. You don't care if someone doesn't understand you. You're not bothered. You don't need them to. And the whole fight for it is not there anymore. You don't need it. So that's the beauty in it. And now I can't be triggered by my dad. And it's not easy for Johnny to trigger me either. So it's like, it's that way round. It's got to be that way round. So I think this is something that I hope you'll find useful, and maybe you can take into your relationships. This is how we take like massive responsibility for ourselves and our experience of our relationship. And also, you know, the other thing that kind of tangles us up is when we give it a meaning, when we think someone hasn't understood us, and we say they don't care about me, they're a bad person, you know, something bad. We're judging them, and really what it comes back to is us judging ourselves. We feel like we're not good enough. We feel like we need someone to validate our experience so that we can do that. We're looking for that approval for us to validate our experience so we can give ourselves permission, but we can speed this whole thing up by doing it for ourselves. The other thing that I want to say is that when you are triggered by someone not hearing you, not seeing you, not understanding you, not seeming to understand you, and you feel very triggered by that, that has been put there for you to learn and grow from and with. So it's not a misfortune, it's a situation that has been put there on purpose so that you can heal this inner wound of not feeling seen and not feeling understood. It's really difficult for young people to feel understood when they don't have the language when they're young to be able to do that. And we have an emotional experience, and sometimes that emotional experience will get stuck there. And we grow up looking for ways to resolve it. And then we come across these people, these important people in our lives, and with our parents and other people who trigger this feeling of, I'm not seen, I'm not enough, and my feelings don't matter, and no one cares about me. And we give those situations, those conversations, those circumstances the meaning that I'm not enough, my feelings don't matter. But we've got to be the one that changes that. So what I hope you've got from this video is something that you can think about next time you feel triggered and you feel like you're fighting the mirror. You feel like you're fighting someone and you find yourself going into fight mode, and you're in defensive mode, and you're feeling like you're having an argument with someone because they don't understand you. I want you to just take yourself away and really put your hand on that part of you that feels misunderstood and say, you know what? Even if this person doesn't understand me, it doesn't matter, because I do. And I'm here for you. And it's the most comforting, loving thing that you can do for yourself. And if you need to remove yourself from that conversation or that situation, that can also help too, because you can create more tension that maybe isn't needed. I definitely found that I needed some space from my dad whenever we were going through that time of I just felt so misunderstood. And I've had conversations in my relationship where we've had to go, okay, right, we need some time out. I need to go away and have a think about how I'm feeling and come back when I feel understood, when I feel like I've understood myself. And then it just naturally flows and it's so much easier. So it's that way round. That's the way round we've got to do it. And it's the voice of fear and shame that is running the show there. It's the voice of, I'm going to be left, I'm not enough, no one cares about me, and my feelings are bad, I shouldn't be feeling this. That is running the show. And the way that we turn it round is by getting in touch with our authentic truth, where we know how we feel and we validate it and we say it's okay. So if you would like to do this more, if you'd like some more conversations like this, more ways to connect to your authentic self, come along to my 2-hour workshop, because I know that it's exhausting. It's exhausting trying to find your authentic voice and trying to be seen and trying to be listened to, and you've been doing it for years. But there's a different way of doing it, and I really want to share with you the ways that I've learnt how to give myself what I've been so desperately trying to seek from other people, in relationships, friendships, work, romantic relationships for a really long time. And if you allow it to, it can totally change your life. So come along on the 17th. It's going to be beautiful. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.